U.S. Congress approved the third motion of vacancy against President Pedro Castillo, promoted by opposition congresspersons. Also in France, a new railway strike starts and can last until Sunday as the sector workers demand better salaries and working conditions. The leader of the transition Junta of Burkina Faso, Captain Ibrahim Traoré, confirmed that a coup attempt was detected and neutralized. From the headquarters of TeleSUR English in Havana, Cuba, this is From the South. I'm your anchor, Gladys Quesada, and these are the news. On Thursday, the Peruvian Congress passed the third motion of vacancy against President Pedro Castillo. The president of the Congress, Jose Williams, reported the approval of the motion of vacancy and announced that the request had already been brought to the attention of the president. The plenary speakers' board decided that if the debate is approved, President Castillo will be summoned to defend himself on December the 12th. For his part, President Castillo, in full exercise of his functions, evaluates together with his cabinet the health and the economic situation, as well as other matters of national interest. And the Constitutional Commission of the Peruvian Congress approved with 10 votes in favor the proposal for a constitutional reform to hold early general elections in 2023. At the same time, the petition is promoted by the opposition parliamentarians, who intend to make a change in the Magna Carta for the Congress and the government to shorten their terms of office. It should be noted that for the measure to be approved, it must receive 87 votes in favor of the 130 congresspersons of the unicameral parliament in 2 consecutive legislatures, and if it does not get the required number of votes, it may be approved by 66 votes in 1 legislature and subsequently submitted to a citizens' referendum. The governments of Peru and Ecuador declare a 90-day sanitary emergency after confirming a bird flu outbreak in both countries. Peruvian authorities reported the outbreak in a poultry farm in the region of Lambayeque. Ecuadorian health officials had announced yesterday that they will slaughter more than 180,000 birds to avoid the spread of the disease. Representatives of both nations urged the population to maintain the corresponding biosecurity measures, while stressing that during the emergency period, it will not be possible to transport poultry products or byproducts in order to control contagion. And after the ruling of the International Court of Justice on the Silala River being an international water course, Chilean President Gabriel Boric said he wishes to work with Bolivia in a spirit of goodwill. Boric said Chile is satisfied with the court's ruling, and that leaves no doubt that there is a duty to cooperate regarding the use of the waters. At a press conference, along with several members of his cabinet, Boric spoke about the importance of strengthening relations with neighboring countries and stressed the willingness to continue working with Bolivia, for it is a fraternal nation. In Argentina, private consulting firms place November inflationary parameters below 6%. Although this number is still high, the data indicate that governmental food prices program is having a positive impact on the inflation index. It stipulates that for the next 90 days, there will be no price increases above 4% per month. According to the report presented by one of the private consulting firms, the items with highest prices are housing, water, electricity, gas, other fuels, and goods and services. According to the Consumer Price Index produced by Libertad y Progreso Foundation, November would have shown a monthly index of 5.9%, thus accumulating an inflation rate of 87% in the first 11 months of the year. Colombia hosts the 5th meeting of congresspersons and social movements of the region. According to local media, the objective of the meeting is to analyze various challenges of the parliamentary agendas in the region. The participants will discuss the changes in the political, economic, and social agendas with a focus on geopolitics and political economy of Latin America and the Caribbean. Likewise, participants indicated the ultimate purpose of the meeting is to seek international peace. On Thursday in Haiti, several political personalities expressed their condemnation of the massacre that took place in the town of Sucre Matelas and the government's silence on the strong violence that the country is going through. Former central bank governor Fritz John criticized the continuation of murders, gang rapes, kidnappings, and robberies in the country, without giving the victims the right to justice. These statements come after at least 12 people were killed in the community of Cabaret, north of Port-au-Prince, the country's capital, where several houses were set on fire. The spokesperson for the Democratic and Popular Party, André Michel, also issued a statement condemning the events while reiterating the government's request to deploy troops to control the gangs. The shocks and the clashes between these criminal groups left some 500 dead during the year. Let's take a short break, but first, remember you can follow us on our TikTok account at TeleSUR English, in which you will be able to see news in different formats, news updates, and more. Other stories coming up, stay with us. Welcome back to From the South. In France, a new railway strike started on Friday and could last until Sunday, due to the strike of conductors who are demanding better salaries and working conditions. Only 4 out of 10 trains will run throughout the country as long as the protest continues. The most affected services are high-speed and intercity trains. Several rail unions joined together to call the strike due to the company's lack of response to their demands for a salary increase to face the inflation that is sweeping the country, as well as improvements in timetables and the recognition of their status as a safety equipment guarantor. On Thursday, the U.S. Senate passed the bill draft approved by Congress to prevent the railroad strike that threatens the country's economy. The Senate endorsed the bill by 80 votes to 15, but rejected the resolution that seeks to grant workers 7 paid sick days. President Joe Biden warned about the catastrophic effects that the strike could have on the American economy. The approved agreement implies a 24% wage increase over 5 years and other flexibility measures that supposedly favor the workers. In the United States, Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg warned that a possible strike by railroad workers could paralyze the entire country and severely damage the economy. A prolonged conflict keeps awaiting a possible strike in the railroad industry since the government, the unions, and the employers have not been able to reach an agreement on paid sick leave benefit demanded by the workers, arguing that they are exposed to long working days in adverse weather conditions and that the industry yields enough gains to grant such benefits. A strike has been called for next Friday, December the 9th. Now we move on to other topics. On Thursday, President Joe Biden says he's open to talk with Russian President Vladimir Putin about bringing an end to the war in Ukraine, but allegedly only if the Russian leader is serious about peace negotiations. The head of state issued these statements during the official visit of the French President Emmanuel Macron to the United States of America. Despite high expectations for both leaders to discuss an end to the conflict in Ukraine, neither of the two leaders has expressed in that way. But in their speeches, they have hinted that they will be moving to a next phase. The French head of state mentioned that they will continue to support Ukraine without referring to troops or weapons, and President Biden has said in front of the French president that he will be happy to talk to the Russian president. Russia's foreign minister on Thursday accused the West of becoming directly involved in the conflict in Ukraine by supplying it with weapons and training its soldiers.
You shouldn't say that the United States and NATO aren't taking part in this war. You are directly participating in it, and not just by providing weapons, but also by training personnel. You are training their military on your territory and the territories of Britain, Germany, Italy, and other countries. This is also why we are so anxiously watching the rhetoric that the West spews, accusing us of allegedly preparing some kind of provocation, using weapons of mass destruction. But the West itself, including the United States, including Great Britain, including France, that is, 3 nuclear powers, they are doing everything to increase their almost direct participation in the war, which they are waging against Russia with Ukrainian hands. This is a dangerous trend.
And Lavrov also denied that Russia is not willing to sit down at the negotiations table, reiterating that it is an option that will never be ruled out.
Accused of constantly asking for some kind of talks in order to gain time to gather additional forces for conducting the special military operation, this is both ridiculous and unpleasant, because people lie. They lie openly. We never asked for talks, but always said that we are ready to listen to those who are interested in a negotiated solution.
And we have more news coming up after a final short break, so stay with us. Welcome back. On Friday, the leader of the transition of Burkina Faso, Captain Ibrahim Traoré, confirmed that a coup attempt was detected last week and neutralized. Numerous rumors circulated during the last days, but the military junta kept silent until Friday. Traoré, the youngest head of state in the world, only 34 years old, assured an event with civil society organizations and those known as customary leaders and religious leaders that the maneuver had been detected and foiled. The military junta leader said the perpetrators and authors of the overthrow attempt are free because his administration is committed to dialogue, but called on everyone to remain alert to the possibility of future attempts. And heavy gunfire broke out between government forces and the M23 insurgents in the east of the Democratic Republic of the Congo on Thursday. Heavy weapons fighting resumed on Thursday in eastern DRC between the M23 rebels and the Congolese army after a 5-day truce following the decisions of the M23 November summit in Luanda. The ceasefire was to be followed by the withdrawal of the rebels from the captured territory, a withdrawal that has not yet taken place. This has caused thousands of people to flee their homes in search of safe areas where they will not suffer the effects of the conflict. And Stéphane Dujarric, spokesperson for the Secretary General for the United Nations, said the situation in the Tigray region remains fragile, with more than 13 million people without access to adequate food.
Said that despite the signing of the cessation of hostilities agreement, we have a dramatic humanitarian situation needs in areas impacted by the conflict in northern Ethiopia. This includes more than 13 million people who are food insecure, including more than 5 million in the Tigray region.
The government of Nigeria has announced its decision to stop importing all derivatives by the third quarter of 2023, or even earlier than expected. Nigerian Oil Minister Timipre Silva said the renovation of a refinery in southern Nigeria, together with the construction of another one by the Dangote Group in southwest of the country, will supply 60,000 barrels of refined crude oil per day by the end of December. Nigeria, Africa's largest oil producer, is not the only African country forced to import oil derivatives. Ghana is in a similar situation since the 2017 closure of the country's only refinery. On Thursday, Lebanese parliament deputies have failed for the 8th time in their attempt to elect a new president, continuing the current government void. In the meeting, independent 50-year-old MP Michael Mouawad got 27 votes. 52 deputies submitted blank ballots, of which 5 were annulled, while the rest of the deputies voted for other candidates. Parliament Speaker Nabi Berri set the text or the next meeting to vote for a president for next Thursday, December the 8th. According to the provisions of the Lebanese constitution, the candidate must obtain at least 2/3 of the votes of the 128 deputies. In the runoff, of the winning candidate needs a simple majority, that is 50% of the votes plus 1. Now we move on to other topics. India's Central Drug Control Organization has approved the first intranasal vaccine against COVID-19, which has been developed for use in emergency situations in people aged 18 years and older. I beg your pardon. State Minister for Science and Technology and Earth Sciences, Dr. Jitendra Singh, praised the efforts of the Department of Biotechnology in developing this vaccine. The drug completed several trials for safety and immunogenicity in about 3,100 volunteers. Scientists concluded that this nasal vaccine contributes to a faster and more efficient development of variant-specific vaccines. And now we move on to Qatar. On Thursday took place the last matches of the group stage in Group F of FIFA World Cup Qatar 2022. Morocco beat Canada 2-1 and Croatia drew with Belgium 0-0. This way, the African team and the current runner-up pass to the next round. Morocco beat Canada 2-1 with the goals of Kassim Kizikayek and Youssef Enzerzri in the first half. For the Canadians, the goal was scored by Nayef Agard, becoming in the first own goal of the World Cup. This way, Morocco finished as first of the group and tied to the performance they did in 1986, when they also passed as first but losing the round of 16 against West Germany. The other match in the Group F defined the second qualified team. The 0-0 draw between Croatia and Belgium left the Red Devils out and let the current world runner-up go through to the round of 16. This way, Croatia will now face the first-placed team in Group E and Morocco the second-placed team. And just as the hearts and millions of fans live the emotions of the Qatar 2022 World Cup, TeleSUR joins this sporting event with From the Field, a show that brings news, analysis, reviews, and more to our audience. Don't miss it. Our show airs 1 p.m. local time in Caracas and 12 p.m. New York. Remember, From the Field, only on TeleSUR. And we have come to the end of this news brief. But remember, you can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. And also, if you feel so inclined, please join us on social media for all the latest news. We are on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For TeleSUR English, I'm your anchor, Gladys Quesada. Thank you for watching.